Hey guys, welcome along to a brand new podcast. This is a Star Trek based podcast, mainly. Sceam me up, Botty. Of course, that's a play on words of beam me up, Scotty. So, yes, I was considering for the longest time jumping onto YouTube and doing a whole series of stuff on my review channel there for the Star Trek TV shows and the movies and whatnot, but that is a heck of a lot of content, and I'm doing a lot of other stuff on there, and I thought it was just a little bit of overkill for the channel. That on top of a whole load of other series that I was planning to do over there. So I thought to myself, let's start a podcast. So I thought, Sceam me up, Botty, as in a very funny play on the Beam Me Up Scotty thing. So I went to check the domain name to see if I could get that, so I could link everything back to my channels and whatnot and all the other content that I make, and didn't think that I would be able to get that. I thought something like that, someone somewhere along the line would have already gotten it. Thankfully they didn't, so snapped it up, got the podcast set up. And before we go any further, I need to apologise for the music that I'm using here for the podcast. I am, and this is going to sound ridiculous after having seen the artwork for the show, I am super self-conscious as far as copyrighted material goes. And again, if you've seen the artwork, you're thinking to yourself, you're not too bothered about copyrighted content with your artwork. If I do get into trouble for using that artwork, I can always change that. But as far as the content goes, putting it onto the show here, I didn't want to use copyrighted music for the podcast itself. So the song that I opened this podcast with is a copyright-free loop that I've had sitting for a long time. It's the best of a bad bunch of copyright free material. So if anybody out there is feeling generous and they want to hook me up with something that sounds a little bit more science fiction-y than that, I would gladly pay for the use of that song for the podcast. So yes, this is just a quick little introduction to the series, what we're going to be doing on here. And as I said, primarily a Star Trek based podcast, but I'm thinking, Sceam me up, Botty. You know, it's of course, again, a play on Beam Me Up Scotty, probably one of the most iconic sayings from a science fiction show, which interestingly enough was never actually said on Star Trek. Like, no one ever said Beam Me Up Scotty, but it got into the popular culture anyway, and here we are. But it is linked through science fiction, mainly Star Trek. So I'm thinking, you know what? It's more a science fiction podcast, really, at the end of the day. We're not just going to be doing Star Trek on here. That's going to be the main focus. But, you know, if other things pop up, we're going to be talking a little bit about that as well. And, you know, goodness knows where this podcast will take me. And very, very interested to getting into it and see what happens. Like, there's a whole load of stuff that I enjoy watching when it comes to this genre. Star Trek's only a small part of it. Of course, you got Star Wars and all that good stuff. Right now, at the moment, I'm going through the old 70s Jerry Anderson show, UFO. Absolutely fantastic. I remember, like, that's well before my time, but I do remember having an episode of that in VHS that my brother had recorded off the television way back in the early 80s. So as a small child, I've seen that countless times. I was always intrigued with that show, but I never actually got to see more than that one episode for years. Right now, in the UK, we've got Forces TV on Freeview, and that's actually showing, well, it was showing the series on there over the Christmas period. And the brother, my older brother, was actually recording it on his hard drive, and then we would sit down. We get into the habit of watching an old show of some sort. He's crazy on his 70s and 80s shows, and we get into the habit of sitting down for dinner in the evenings and watching one of these old shows from the 70s or 80s. At the minute, we're going through that UFO, and it was his birthday recently, so I was thinking, an old show that he'd probably be interested in. And I can remember as a small child coming across a toy which, in the process of being played with by myself as a small child, got broken, and it would be worth an absolute fortune right now. And that was one of the Eagles from Space 1999. So I ordered the DVD box set of that for him for his birthday. So there's 2 other shows on top of Star Trek that we're probably going to delve into at some point on here, and the science fiction goodness that I would like this show to eventually get to. So yes, that's pretty much the sort of theme that we're going to be going with on here, primarily Star Trek and other shows as well. So I'm going to be trying to, if possible, get out 2 episodes a week, probably on a Tuesday and either a Thursday or a Friday, but during the week anyway. So we'll just have to wait and see what happens. So that's it for this episode. Just a quick little intro. Did I even introduce myself at the start of this? My name is Rodney Stewart, by the way. It's a Coins Age Media production. So if you want to check out some of the other stuff that's going on, I'm a YouTuber, trying to be a podcaster, trying to be a YouTuber as well, and every once in a while I do make some indie film content. So there's a lot of stuff on the website to check out, along with this podcast and 2 other podcasts at this point, YouTube and indie film content. So definitely, if you have a few minutes free right now, please jump onto your browser, coinsagemedia.com. Check out some of the stuff I'm doing over there, and I'm excited to get into the show. A little bit nervous to be recording this first episode. I have a podcast already that's been going for a long time. It's kind of based on my vlogging channel and my review channel, and I kind of just strip the audio off those videos and kind of upload it there. And for me, that's a real comfort zone for me. And you would think to yourself, audio podcast form should be easier than a video format. I don't know. I just feel more comfortable in the video side of things. Never think twice but pulling out the vlogging camera, recording myself, no problem at all. But for some reason, audio right here, and you're probably hearing my stomach rumbling, nerves, is a little bit nerve-wracking for me. So please bear with me, be gentle, and we'll see where it goes. So if you're interested in science fiction, Star Trek, Star Wars, Space 1999, UFO, you name it, please follow the podcast, and feel free to leave any suggestions for other science fiction shows that we can delve into. Like, I've got a ton of stuff that I haven't even mentioned that I'll probably get into at some point. So I'm thinking the Tuesday episode will probably be something random, and then the Thursday or Friday episode will be Star Trek. We'll see what happens anyway. I'm thinking at this point I'm going to start off and just go back to back with all the Star Trek movies that have been made up to this point, and then we'll get into the series, and we'll see what happens from there. So guys, cheers for listening and giving me a little bit of your time. This has been a production of Coins Age Media. Check out my